Welcome to Podsauce. Time to get into some sports talk.
Yes.
Let's do it a little. People love sports when it comes to podcasting.
The sports world is so huge in the podcasting space. However, Linda, full disclaimer, we have Linda Cohn, host of In the Crease with Linda Cohn. Girl, I don't know nothing about sports.
I still love you because I love you for being so honest. And you know, when people come up to me and like they may not watch ESPN or may not know about the In the Crease podcast that I host with my colleague from ESPN, Emily Kaplan, they're like, hey, Linda, I really didn't know who you were or whatever. I'm like, that's okay.
Yes.
I love you even more for that. Because, you know, then it's not all about what I do for a living that defines me, right?
Yeah.
Same with like you guys, right?
Yeah.
When they don't know what you do and you're like, wow, you like me anyway? Great.
I got to keep it a buck because otherwise you're going to talk about stuff and I'm going to have this glossy look on my face. And so to completely eliminate all that, I want you to give the elevator pitch on what In the Crease is all about.
Okay, so I've always been a big hockey fan, all right? I love a lot of things. I'm a very balanced person. I'm sure that's why you have me on the program.
1,000%.
Here.
1,000%.
So, I mean, I grew up loving sports, and I grew up on Long Island, New York girl, and my dad was a big sports fan. He's no longer with us, but he and I would sit there and suffer watching our favorite New York teams ride the roller coaster, and it was mostly a spiraling down roller coaster because of the teams that we rooted for, but it was a bond, and it gave me something, a girl with low self-esteem, something to look forward to, right?
Yeah.
And something to connect with. And that's how it went from that to me playing hockey. My mother wanted me to play tennis, and I was damn good at playing tennis, but that wasn't enough. I had to play hockey.
Wait, you
Which
played
was my
hockey?
favorite sport. Yes, I played hockey. I was a goalie. And the irony there is the fact that I was really in school and I had like zero friends. I was a wallflower, but playing goalie made me the center of attention.
Yeah.
Like all the pressure was on me stopping that puck, being a hero or a goat. And I mean, goat, not greatest of all time. I mean, goat as in, loser, type of thing. So anyway, long story short, that really helped me prepare myself to a career in sports broadcasting because I just sort of blocked out what everybody thought. Why is this girl playing with the boys? What is she doing? And then I thought my only career has to be in sports. I want to give that a shot. It happened on ESPN and SiriusXM Radio, NHL, and Mad Dog Sports Radio. And now this podcast, In the Crease podcast, since ESPN got the NHL package. For years and years, it was on NBC.
Yeah.
It hadn't been on ESPN since '04. Gave me a stage and opportunity to speak my mind, have my takes with my co-host, Emily. And we have a female producer, and of course, we're the female co-host.
Yes, ladies.
That's kind of cool, right? And we're the only podcast for the National Hockey League on ESPN, and that's another icing on the cake bonus.
That's amazing.
Sounds pretty goaty to me, babe. And I mean the greatest of all time goat.
So, Linda, you are a huge sports fan. Now, is In the Crease, it's only NHL, correct? You don't cover anything. You cover all the teams, but it's only hockey. Is that correct?
Yes, because that's, what this particular podcast is all about. They wanted us to help promote and tell stories. I like to tell stories about these players. That's how you guys can connect. You couldn't care less about hockey, right? But if you found out something about a player that you can align yourself with or found it fascinating, you're brought in and you're like, wow, I like that guy's story. Oh, wow, what team does he play for? Oh, okay, I'll start rooting for the Anaheim Ducks. I don't know, right?
Yes,
this is
the
the kind of
Ducks,
thing, and this is how-
absolutely.
You know
Right?
the Anaheim Ducks?
What are you talking about?
Why is that
I live in
Linda?
Orange
Like I was
County, of
wrong.
course. That's the actual hockey team I go to see. Who's your team, Linda?
Well, I grew up loving the New York Rangers, and I'm in total shock because they've been outstanding and overachieved this year. They got a record of like 17-4-3, and I'm like, you take it with a grain of salt, but you just enjoy the ride, enjoy the journey. But, my work in other areas, in other stages, whether it's TV hosting SportsCenter or other shows on ESPN or hosting radio shows, sports talk shows, where I cover all sports on Sirius XM. That's been great because, like kind of like you do, how you guys connect with people. So I connect with the listeners and I'm able to talk, and see what they want to talk about. And that's been the most fun being, isn't it great? We live in a time, we work in a time where we can really connect to our fans, connect to people that we want to talk with via electronically, like we're doing now via Zoom, via podcast. And I think that is really, really cool. So the In the Crease podcast, just the NHL, but we try to bring players on. We also have our takes, but we try to bring players on that have great stories or doing some great things.
I think what I like about In the Crease, because, as we've talked, you and I know nothing about sports, but when when Dax and I get a podcast that we may not be that familiar with, just because there's 3 million podcasts out there. Your In the Crease is actually one of the huge podcasts out there, but I saw the episode that you guys did on Kyle Beach. And so, just to piggyback off of what you were saying, Linda, it's not just about the sports, it's about what's going on with the actual players. So when something like and I'll let you break it down because you have more context on what's going on with the Kyle Beach, what was going on with the Kyle Beach situation. When something like that happens to players, what approach is it that you and Emily decide to take? Is it more so just as someone who's breaking it down from a journalistic perspective, or doing your job as a lover of hockey and maybe disappointment around what's going on with some of the players?
Right. That's a really great question because there is a fine line, right? Because you love the sport, you love the National Hockey League, you're trying to send out positive vibes, but you're also being, what Emily and I always do is be objective because we love the game so much, we love the league so much. We don't want to see the black eyes, so to speak. Now, anyone who doesn't know about Kyle Beach, that's okay. It's sad. It's a player that was in the system of the Chicago Blackhawks that was a victim of sexual abuse, sexual assault by a former video manager of the Chicago Blackhawks and that organization, and it was allowed to go on. But it was something because side note, and I'm saying it in a serious way. When this Kyle Beach situation arose, I was talking to Emily and saying to her, my co-host, I'm like, every day I watch another episode of Law and Order SVU, which has become my favorite show. Like I watch it from beginning. Is that from beginning till end?
I was like, yes.
I'm like, Emily, I said to her, this is like right out of a script of Law and Order Special Victims Unit.
Yeah.
What was going on, and it's real. And we don't even. I just hope stuff like this and Kyle Beach coming out and making his story known will help so many others. And, it's sad. I mean, I grew up on Long Island. As I told you, I'm a New York girl. And, New Yorkers get kind of like a bad rap of not trusting people. Yeah. I'm also a Scorpio, so I don't trust anybody. So my
sister from another mister. I too am a Scorpio and a Law and Order fanatic.
Oh my God, we need to talk.
Why aren't you here?
But I don't think I can't hold my life together because I don't trust anybody as I walk down the street because of what I just told you.
Yeah.
So, but back to your original point. Yeah, we try to do not only the happy stories, the great stories, but call attention to some serious issues. And there are a lot out there, and mental health is also a big issue with a lot of these players, and now they feel comfortable coming out. And you see that in all of the sports, right?
Well, that's what I think is so beautiful about your podcast. I apologize, Linda, I didn't mean to cut you off, but you touched on something that we've been trying to bring to the forefront more often about humanizing people in the sports space, right? Athletes, celebrities, because they do exist within spaces of personal things may be going on with them and they may not feel comfortable with speaking about it. You think about people in the NHL, NBA, they're these big personalities.
Right.
People, and you don't think that sexual assault can happen to them, and it's very prevalent in those spaces. Or mental health illness.
If I like to jump in there.
Yes.
With the sport of hockey, a lot of this starts when these players are really young. Mm-hmm. Okay, many of them start when they're like 4, 5, 6, 7, when they hit a certain age, like 12, 13, 14, if they're really, really good enough, they leave their home. They go to places and stay with host families to take them in so they can train, practice, and play with certain traveling teams that are elite. So they spend months and months and months away from their home, from their family, from their parents, staying with what were our strangers, just to play the game of hockey and play with the best people and the best coaches and learn under the best. So throw that into the mix compared to these other sports where perhaps you don't see that as much at a young age.
So Linda, when you have time to listen to a podcast yourself, are you focused on more sports podcasts or do you listen to a different genre? I'm curious because we are a podcast discovery show, so we are looking for recommendations from people. Is there anything that you can recommend to us?
I'd love to, but right now there's not one that I'm not. Here's the deal. As you guys know, because you have such a busy schedule, as do I, it takes a lot just to do the podcast in the Crease twice a week with everything else on my plate, not complaining. So I haven't had enough time to really say to you, I am totally hooked on this particular podcast, another one out there outside of the sports world or even in the sports world, because I'm so focused on getting in the Crease off to that great start. But let me tell you something. When I find something, I'm going to let you know. Okay?
Well, how about this? Give us a genre you like, and we'll give you a recommendation.
There you go.
Oh, that's cute. Wow. Well, I told you I love music. And I love music that I grew up with back in the day. And I'm talking way back, almost even music before my time. I love classic rock. I'm a Journey, Def Leppard girl. But even I'm fascinated by these music documentaries, and they have podcasts attached to them, or maybe regarding that group, just about the origins of certain music.
Behind the Music has a podcast, so you can check out Behind the Music, and I think that might give you exactly what you're looking for, kind of the behind-the-scenes look at big bands and artists. And
I live by Behind the Music. That was just such a great, that was just a great show, and I learned so much about my favorite bands. So that makes so much sense. Well, thank you for that recommendation.
For anyone that wants to check out Linda's podcast, In the Crease, head on over to podsauce.com. I'll have a link there directly so you can check out all of our episodes. And Linda, if you have one episode you want us to link to, which one would that be?
Wow. God, that's a great question. Emily and I both try to better ourselves each and every time. I think because our podcasts deal with what's going on at the moment. So honestly, my best link would be the one of that particular week.
How about this? We'll put up a link to the 2-part episode of the Kyle Beach story.
That's
because I
one.
think we've talked about it. I think people are interested, and I think it's a good episode for people to check out. So
that's a better idea. Thank you. You're right. You're right. I was, trying to be silly, but you're right.
Linda Cohn, host of In the Crease. This is Podsauce.